there's somebody at the door. Welcome in. I'm your girl Milah Denise, and you guys are tuned in watching my new conversational series, Melanin After Dark. Follow me as I introduce you to my sexy, beautiful co-host. Just so you guys know, we are at Homestead Living in LA. Beautiful Airbnb with architecture like no other. Get into it. So my co-hosts for this evening are including my best friend, Demille Estella Michelle from Houston, Texas. She is a makeup artist and cosmetic product developer specializing in complexion products. She is the founder and mastermind behind Estella Michelle Agency, a high-end creative agency that curates visuals. She also enjoys traveling, hiking, and spontaneous fun. My next co-host is my beautiful spirited friend BC. She is a design engineer at Chevron El Segundo Refinery. As a proud graduate of Prairie View A&M University with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, she discovered her purpose in positions where she was either influencing or developing others to reach their fullest potential. BC is most drawn to areas where she can improve the standard of education and business for people in underrepresented areas. Shout out to ADR, which is her nonprofit for women in underrepresented areas with a focus on education. I have some dope friends, y'all, in the case you didn't know. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank my lovely co-hosts for joining me today. They are beautiful, they are talented, they have a lot to offer to the table today, and we're just going to have a lot of fun with what we talk about. So first and foremost, what I want to get into is this toast, okay? So, it's a little sparkling rosé.
Very exciting.
Yes. Now, don't mind me as I struggle just ever so slightly. But it will get open, sis, I promise. And honestly, you know, this toast is also to the fact that 2020 just started out beautiful, but then turned into an unexpected roller coaster, right? And so I'm toasting also to the fact that I want the rest of the year to end on positive vibes, positive vibrations. Speak all of your goals into existence. Let's just make life happen. We are beautiful, dope women. Okay?
Pour it up, please.
Hey.
All right.
You're supposed to tilt this when you pour, but whatever. Hey. All right, a little portion.
Okay.
All right. Drink up, ladies.
All right, so are we toasting?
We are. Let's toast to a phenomenal rest of 2020 and to Melanin After Dark.
Hey, Melanin After Dark.
Okay, so this is how it's gonna work. I have a list of topics in this mason jar. What we're gonna do is just go around and take turns with pulling out what the topic is and then chatting about it. Just so you guys know, this is all organic conversation. These ladies have no idea what the topics are. They've never seen them. You're just gonna see us kind of get into this conversation of what we feel like our current events. I guess I'll go first. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Shake these little bad boys up. Okay, let's see. Now, first of all, I made the topic, so I know what they're about.
The gag is.
But the ladies don't. So, let's see. Do you believe that voter suppression is an issue and we should be concerned about the election? I'll start it out. I do believe that voter suppression is an issue. There have been recent reports about just what the climate is like when people are going to vote. I've heard situations where they have to wait for long periods of time to get to the ballots. I've heard situations where they're literally waiting in the rain or during thunderstorms. They're closing the polls early. There's just a lot of different stuff happening. Like I said, 2020 has been very unexpected. And for me, I feel like this is just a very odd election year. Like, I thought 2020 was going to be phenomenal, and then we're entering this really crazy scheme of things. And also, as a note to that, there was, I want to say it was in West Virginia, but there was a postal worker who actually is facing time in jail behind bars because he tampered with the ballots when people, were mailing in their votes. So I just feel like what's going on these days? And voter suppression for me, I never thought that was something that I would have to be concerned about or it would be an issue. But with the current events and stuff that's going on, it's like everything that I read in the media is concerning.
But I want to ask you this. I think based on the history of the United States, why is that something that's new to you? Like historically, like you've seen voter suppression to be something that's consistently been an issue in the U.S.
Right.
So down from Jim Crow to depending on how and what you're considered, African Americans wouldn't be able to vote till now. Even you hear about certain district lines not being able to have access to numerous votes, numerous polls, even though they have the constituents that would require them to be able to have a certain amount of polls, and so them having to travel further,
right.
And of course people not being able to vote because of that.
Right.
So for me, it's like, I'm not surprised, right? It's one of those things where I feel like for ourselves, like we just need to be educated, and we just need to make sure that like we just got to get out there and vote. Absolutely. Whether it is like, I know this year I'm trying something new where I'm doing the mail-in vote, and I think, you know, with COVID, a lot of people staying home, with just all of the chaos going on, people are not really sure, you know, where to go or why to go. But I think that's why it's so important now, right?
Right.
Like we see how, you know, like depending on how we feel about how the government is handling COVID, for example, or how the government is handling certain things, now is the time more than ever to go out and vote. Absolutely. Even if our vote is being suppressed, right? Like, I feel like there's no excuse. If you got to mail in your vote, you can do that.
Yeah.
If you got to go travel out, take the bus, take the A train to go vote, like, you got to do that. Voter suppression isn't new.
It's not new.
It's changing.
It's changing, and
Absolutely.
you have to know like the rules of voting. Like there's, you know, you could go there and they say like, oh, you need your voter registration card. When you don't, you only need your ID. But if it's your first time voting and you're 19 or whatever, and you don't know, you're like, okay, and you go home. Do you know what I mean? And
right.
something simple as that.
And that's a good point.
Something simple as that of you just not knowing and them just telling you that they're doing that, and it's been happening, and you know, to minorities. Doesn't happen to white people typically.
Yeah,
but
it's intentional.
It's intentional.
And Obama
you know?
touched on something where he said that he felt like the vulnerability was within people of color and students. Like you said, the 19-year-olds. So
they don't know.
They don't know. So you have to open up the source of information. But when you have it being trickled down from the media, it's like, how do you trust that?
So one thing that I would say is, I like, as much as don't take everything that you see on social media for gold. Right. Mm-hmm. One thing that I have appreciated that I've seen in the last like few months is just knowledge sharing. Like you see a lot of different pages, especially if you're very intentional, right? And if you are following those pages and you see those key nuggets that like tell you more information about voting. So for example, you know, voting takes, I think voting is it November or October?
November, I believe.
November, but then like if you're doing the mail-in vote, you have to vote. You have to turn in your vote like by October or some specific date so that your vote can be counted for. So that kind of information, you know, of course, me doing my mail-in vote this year, something that I've never tried, and getting that information for social media, verifying it via the U.S. Gov, I'm able to say, okay, well, glad to know that, right? Glad that I know that I need to put my ballot in at X date so that I can get my vote counted for. So things like that, I feel like, you know, we need to take the responsibility for that.
I was going to say, I guess it's accountability for each individual.
Yeah.
And you have to want it for yourself. But unfortunately, I don't think everybody has the notion to want to do that.
And if anybody doesn't have the notion to want to do that, like,
then they can't complain about our government.
They can't complain, but then also, like, we should, you know, I feel like we should feel free to share the information that we see.
Yeah.
Like,
and you have to ask questions. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think the biggest misconception is like, well, in general, not just with voting, but like, if I ask a question, I'm like, it's embarrassing or I don't know. Like, there are things, I'm 26 and I'm not scared to ask any question. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't know something, then you need to ask. You know what I mean? And as we get older, we have to like pass it down to like our younger siblings and people that we know, because, you know, sometimes you're not going to ask.
Right. All right. Well, who's next? That was dope. Let's move into the next topic. Let's go. Yeah. Demilly, go.
I was grabbing my wine. I was like, all right.
We're still on the same page. I'll grab mine too.
So, I love this question. Okay. What are some of your personal strategies to promote positive mental health? I had pulled a question, so I'm gonna go last. So I'll start with BC.
So I'm actually still on vacation. I took a 3-week vacation from work. I think, with all that's going on with COVID, and at least for me in my line of work, you guys all know that I'm a mechanical engineer. And so, like some of my jobs can be super demanding, whether it means like project management, meeting deadlines, giving out engineering guidance and all that. So sometimes it can be a lot. And so for me, I didn't have a break since COVID started, like since the entire year started, and I just been going full force. And so I took 3 weeks off vacation. I went home. I went to go see my family. I just went off the radar. I got off of social media for like the last 2 weeks.
It was like a reset button.
It was great. It was great. I'm back now, and I'm just enjoying every minute of it. I'm with you ladies, sipping my champagne, and so like,
life.
listen, like this is life. I don't want to go back.
Hey.
You guys didn't hear that work.
Cut that part out.
How about you, Milah?
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is, I think mental health is important for one. I think a lot of people focus on physical activity, but that same energy that you put into physical activity, you have to put into your mental and to your spiritual as well. So they're both, like, they're all important. You can't just weigh one more than the other. I think it's healthy to prioritize all three of those aspects. And for me, in regards to mental health, what I love to do, it's my favorite go-to. I go to the beach, and I literally have my little umbrella, and I have a sheet, and I have a notebook and a book, and my speaker for some music, and I vibe out for like 4 to 6 hours, just like chilling. And I resonate with the nature. I like the fact that the view of the water is there with the sky. It just is a reminder of God. And so all of that for me just resets my energy and allows me to just get back on track with anything that I was negatively thinking about, because you literally have to stop yourself from thinking those things. You have to put in intentional action to make sure that it's not something that's reoccurring. So that's how I balance out anything that I may have been struggling with during the week. I try to do it once a week. I try.
I love it.
But it's been very helpful, and that's been like a strategy I've been using for the last, I want to say, 2 months. Before that, it was a lot of praying. My mental health was distinguished by my praying life, my prayer life. I felt like the more I was in tune and in alignment with God, then the more I felt mentally equipped to deal with whatever life threw at me. So I guess between the two of those, that's my strategy.
I love that.
That is really good. A combination of everything.
Hey.
Do you mind if I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Like, speaking of praying and mental health, like something that I did while I was on vacation was I fasted for like a few days, because I realized like there's so much going on. I wasn't like in the best mental space. And so I just started fasting, and I thought it to be the most beautiful thing ever. Being that like I felt connected with God, and I just kind of felt like that oneness and that peace. And sometimes like, with everything going on, moving, working, going in and out, like you just, like you get so busy and caught up in life, like you forget to just get grounded. And that's so important. So thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. I think we all struggle with that, just being so caught up in life that you forget to take time for yourself and make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Like you're making sure work is good, you're making sure your family's good, your friends are good, but what, are you good? You got to put energy into that intentionally,
Yeah. Are
That's
you
so
good?
No, because
I'm good. I was like, no, sis, what's going on? Something's going on. I can tell. No.
But like really bouncing off what both of you guys just said, my mom growing up, this was her biggest thing. Like, she loves us to death, of course. But she's like, I can't take care of you if I'm not okay. I can't cook for you if I'm not okay. I can't go to the grocery store for you if I'm not okay. And so she would always make sure to have her me time. So she would close the door. She's like, do not knock on this door or bother me unless there's a fire or you're bleeding. Because if it's not one of those two things, you can get through it without me. And my mom always instilled that in me. And so for me, it's taking that me time. You can't take care of anyone else. You can't do your job. You can't do anything. You can't be a friend. You can't be a sister if you're not taking care of yourself. So whatever that means for whoever, whatever it is that you do, but you have to take care of yourself. And for me personally, I love hiking, which I know that's like my favorite thing. So getting to be adventurous, I'm very adventurous. So that's like a time to kind of get into nature.
Yeah.
There's usually like no one there, and it's just these beautiful views, and I can just kind of like breathe in, breathe out.
Right.
And I love working out. So it's a combination of like the scenery and the nature, and then really getting that good workout and that good sweat. I always feel really good, and my head is cleared once I do that. So that's like my me time. And so yeah,
That's
think
dope.
good.
I love that.
One thing I like to compare it to, like as an analogy, is have you guys seen the X-Men series?
A few.
A few.
I know what you're talking about. Don't know if I've seen it, but I know
Okay, well, are you familiar with the character Mystique?
She's
She's
blue.
the one that's blue,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
She's hot.
She's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when she had to exercise her power, it drained half of her energy, right? So anytime she was putting on, her natural self is blue. When she's healthy, natural, being herself, she's blue. But when she's taking on the image of somebody else, which is her secret power, she has half the energy because half of it is being put into her physique, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I feel like when you don't tap into your mental health, then half of your energy is into sweeping that under the rug, and you're not utilizing your capacity to the fullest
Yes.
extent.
That's a really good.
That's a good one.
I like the snaps. Those snaps.
We're in like a poetry club.
Wait, what did Lorenz say in Love Jones? I want to be the blue funk in your left eye.
Come on.
What did he say?
I don't know what
That was close to it. It wasn't it. I swear.
we gotta roll that. Make sure we find that clip and throw it in there.
But even like thinking about partnership and stuff, like somebody that you want to date, you want to make sure that they have their mental health game on lock too.
Right,
Like,
right.
what do you do for your stress? What do you do when you feel like you're a little overwhelmed with life? Like, what strategies do you have in place? Because that stuff can build up, and over time, it can be very unhealthy.
And you know what's important is talking about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you have a partner, if you have a friend,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Being, I think, to back up a little bit, sometimes how mental health can get so bad is that someone's not talking about it,
Right.
and then it builds up to this, and then they have this breakdown, and it's like, whoa, what happened? What's wrong with them? They're crazy.
so crazy?
And it's not that they're crazy. They've just been holding it in for X amount of time, months, years, minutes, whatever.
Right.
And it's coming all out. So I think people have to be okay with like, hey, I'm not okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you ask your friend, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. And you keep the conversation going. And sometimes you have to be like, okay, but are you good?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is this? How's your day? How's work? You have to ask those questions because sometimes people aren't just going to talk about it. And then that's how you get the mental health breakdown.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, so it seems like it's my turn to pick a question jar.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna go down low, go a little deeper. That's what she said.
That's what we all say.
So, thoughts on virtual programming? How progressive will that be for our future? So, this is a very interesting question. Are you okay if I pointed at you to kind of initiate the topic?
Yeah, that's perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
So, the way I feel about virtual programming, although I feel like we are in a pandemic and COVID is very real and very serious, I think moving in that direction and limiting social activity between human beings can be crippling. And I say that because when you socialize with somebody and when you're in the presence of somebody, that energy that kind of feeds off and bounces from one another, that's important. And by doing virtual programming online, like for instance, they're considering for kids in the fall to not necessarily go back to school and to have it set up as like, an online preference. Kids, you don't know what their environment is. You don't know if they're in a household that is capable of setting them up for success where they can focus, or if they have like 4 siblings running around that they might have to watch while their mom is working from home, or if they don't really have eyes on them that watches them like that.
Yeah.
So the school was the only opportunity for them to get that structure that they needed. These households are different. So I think moving in that direction is, for me, a little scary just because I think human interaction is important. And I remember how when I was growing up in elementary school, specifically, the impact that my teachers made was heavy.
Very.
Like, especially second grade. I love Miss Houston. And then I ended up moving to Houston, so Miss Houston had a great impact. She was very hands-on, and it felt like almost like an auntie, like family member, but just making sure you were instilled with that knowledge in your education. I think it's hard to register that same point online because you're capable of having so many distractions when you're not in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
So even in college, like when we had like Blackboard online sessions or whatever, I just felt like it wasn't as hands-on as me being in the classroom taking notes and listening to the professor. Like I was easily distracted for me.
Do you mind if I ask you to define what the online programming is so that people who are watching this are able to just kind of understand the content of what you're saying?
Absolutely.
The context.
So as far as what I know, I have a friend that is a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know many details about it, but I do know that she has a specific, it's not Zoom, it's like a teacher-oriented virtual program, right? And from there, it's set up like Zoom where the children or their parents have to set their profile up. They can log in, have access to the classroom. The teacher has to mute everybody's mics so that when she's speaking and when she's teaching, she has the floor. But then it's like only a window, I think like 30 minutes to an hour where the kids can ask questions, whereas maybe in a classroom they could raise their hand at any time. Or, you know how people lose their train of thought? That's so normal. So
I mean, I like how you're saying, right? And thank you for explaining that. I have 7 nieces and nephews. I see them bounce off the walls several times. So I can't even imagine having them sit for 7 or 8 hours a day having to learn a specific subject because kids have very short attention spans.
Right.
And so
adults do too.
I think guilty. And so I can't imagine what that would be like, not only for the student but even also for the parents as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's not fair to them, right? Like humans, we need human interaction.
We do. And the parents are advocating. Sorry, go for it.
No, because I was going to take it a different route. So go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just going to say parents are advocating for it, and parents are advocating for the kids to go back to school. Teachers are advocating for kids to stay at home because they're like, well, kids can still carry the antibodies of COVID. They can still have, even though there's not like a huge record of them being infected, they can still somehow transmit this virus. So to be careful, they don't want to put themselves at risk by being at work. And I understand both parts. I really do.
I think it's fair.
Yeah. But it's like, it's really, we're in a pickle. Like, I believe that the best way for a kid to succeed is in the classroom. But at the same token, I don't think the teacher should jeopardize her health for the sake of that purpose.
Or his health.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be gender specific. But his or her health is important. So it's a weird predicament. Yeah. And sorry. To the short attention spans. What were you about to say?
But just going back, I think, to the original question, like lessening human interaction, just from like the simplest thing of like paying my bill. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's an issue or if there's like something that you want to talk about, or do you know what I mean? It's like you have to go through this automated system. Like even going back to that, like even as simple as that, I'm like, pressing 0 10,000 times. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, where is just someone I can talk to so I can get it done. We can talk about it, get it over with. I pay my bill, I do this, and I move out. Do you know what I mean? It makes all of this like automated systems now. It's so annoying. Do you know what I mean? And it goes as big as, going to a classroom and having that, but as simple as like everyday tasks that used to be so easy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, let me just press 0 until they'd be like, okay, let me connect you. And it's just human. And I just need to talk to someone really quick.
That can identify with what I'm saying and understands what I'm doing.
Yes, and it's just like
But even when you do get a representative these days, the customer service is so whack. Like it's nothing like it used to be. I have to thank the Chick-fil-A workers because I'm like, you are an angel. Like,
Chick-fil-A, that's God's property.
That is seriously
my pleasure. Whatever you want. I'm like,
we need all of Chick-fil-A to
they need to
train everyone else in the U.S. Okay, we need to get that started right now.
But back to what you were saying, right? I think, have you guys seen the Pixar movie WALL-E?
I've seen the previews, but I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, so it was about this robot that lived in a human world, and like pretty much humans are extinct, and maybe I think they moved to like a different planet, and so there's only this singular robot on Earth. And it kind of gives the history about like how humans, like, you know, we continue to improve technology so much so that we've oversimplified the need to interact with one another, right? Exactly. Everything's done virtually.
Right.
Everything is via the internet or, you know, via Wi-Fi, where we don't have to have those one-on-one relationships. And it really showed the impact of how those things affected us. And of course it's a cartoon, and, you know, people are like, oh, you know, you're overthinking it. But those are, to me, when I saw that, it only portrayed to me like things that could possibly happen with oversimplification of, you know, virtual programming, where students don't even get the opportunity to not only interact with one another and have that like personal relationship and that personal development, but then at the same time they don't even get the knowledge transfer, that one-on-one transfer with their educator.
Right.
And sorry, just to connect your point of like the reason why they don't have great customer service is because of the advancement in technology. They don't have that human interaction. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Especially, I mean, people that are our age now, I don't think that's such an excuse, but I think the younger generation growing up, they're not going to really know what it's like to have customer service, because by the time they can get a retail job or something like that and be able to, you know, interact with people on a daily basis, it's going to be so virtual, they're never going to have to even do that or learn how to do that. So therefore, they're never going to even grow that skill.
Just the thought of that,
is
so
scary. So like that's what like connects it for me. It's just like, because my first job was at the movies. Yeah. Every other customer was like a different monster. Do you know what I mean? I get good people, I get bad people, I get this popcorn, blah, 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 blah. But it taught me how to, not everyone, you know, someone walks in with a bad attitude. It's not because I did something. It's because you just got something, an argument, da-da-da-da, and I came here and gave you some stale popcorn, and now you're mad at me, but it wasn't my fault. Do you know what I mean?
It taught you how to adapt.
But it taught me how to adapt and, like, have these personable skills to kind of let it roll off my back and have good customer service, even if someone's not being necessarily good to me.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't think people are, you know, learning that these days, just to tie in your point.
Yeah, it's hard to develop that when you have access to all these automated systems, and that's the new norm.
Yeah.
So, let's move on.
All right.
I think that was dope because I think it's like that's literally the wave we're entering right now. So it's a relevant topic.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence is
scary.
Crazy. Like
scary. At my job, literally, like we're in oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
All we do is talk about artificial intelligence. I don't understand how A plus B is equal to donkey. It makes absolutely no sense to me, but we keep trying to connect those dots. And for me, it's scary because if the oil and gas industry that's so far away from artificial intelligence is talking about this, it only makes me think about what other industries are thinking about artificial intelligence.
Well, I can tell you retail for sure. I'm in fashion.
Yeah.
I manage this boutique in Beverly Hills. So
yeah.
Even the data that we input for customers and clients, it's definitely artificial intelligence. To the point where, and this might be TMI, but we have camera systems in place that recognize the clients that come in based off if they've entered the store more than one time. Their face pops up on our computer screen. We see everything that they purchased from the store. We see their name, their profile, their address, and
that is not scary at all.
No, not
it's
at all.
intense.
It's totally normal.
But understand that data these days is so easily accessible. So for us, we're being watched at all times. Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Based on that point, okay, so TikTok, y'all know this whole TikTok thing?
Right.
Everyone loves TikTok, right? So I don't really know all the details, so I'm not going to dive into it too much. But nonetheless, you can download that app, and that's basically accessing so much more than what you really think it's accessing. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, I think that, I wish we could play the clip, but basically it was, I think he's a congressman or someone arguing with, you know, in front of the board, but saying that this TikTok, this app was originated in China. Mm-hmm. And so basically, you know, it's global at this point. So everyone's, you know, downloading it, and then, you know, you go and you download the app and you sign the security or privacy,
which nobody reads.
Which no one reads. You just want to download the app. You want to make your TikTok.
Yeah.
Of course, and that's normal because I do the same thing. But what you're agreeing to, if you were to read that fine print, you would not download that app. You would not. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like you know, all these Americans and everyone all over the world is like, you know, downloading this app, and then it's just accessing so much of your information that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
And
it's scary.
So you think that's scary? Like, y'all can pull up all my shopping, sure, but don't pull up some
My
other
life.
stuff. Like my life, you know what I mean? And have access to that. Even, sorry, I know we probably need to wrap up, but like, you say, oh, I wanna go to Nordstrom. 2 seconds later,
you'll
have
see
a
an
Nordstrom's
ad. Yeah.
I'm like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I was just talking about this yesterday with a friend, and she's like, I don't know what you mean. I'm like,
no, like,
say Nordstrom's 5 times and pull up your Facebook or pull up a Google.
Yeah,
it will show up. It will show up.
Even down to exactly what you said. You know, oh, I want
I was looking
blue
for
top.
I was looking for Gucci's flip flops, and guess what?
The Gucci flip flop showed up.
I was like, all right, Nordstrom. I see you guys Google. Apple. I don't know who's watching me at this point.
It's so scary. I'm like,
and they're not talking about it, but we're witnessing it.
Yeah.
So we know it's happening, regardless if it's in the media or not.
Yeah.
So, anywho, is it my turn again?
I think it's your turn.
Oh. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to do the last but not least final topic. Dun, dun, dun. Can I get a drum roll, please? Dun, 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 dun. Let's see what we have here.
I don't know why I'm nervous right now.
Okay, you should be. Now, before I read this, I need everybody to be very transparent, very honest, okay? And just keep it real. We here to keep it 100, okay? Now,
All right.
we're going to go in clockwise direction. So, D, you're going to answer first. If you could recreate a sex scene from any show or movie, what would it be if you haven't already?
do I have to say something I haven't done? Or
If you have done it,
it's okay.
it's okay.
Okay, cool. So my answer would be the Titanic with Jack and Rose when they sneak down into the cars where all the cars are on the boat, because I love doing spontaneous shit, so I would totally do something like that.
Yes.
And then it was just they had not only that, but just like the passion and love that they had throughout the whole movie. I just like.
It was so steamy.
It was just so steamy. Do you know what I mean? Just the entire movie. So yeah, I would definitely reenact that again.
Okay, Passion Princess.
I like that.
Passion Princess.
Yes, put that as my
She gonna change it to her Instagram handle. Passion Princess.
I like
I
that.
love it. So if I would say, have you guys seen Forrest Gump?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. No, not at all.
I was like, what part of that movie? No, sis, I was like,
where's wrong with this? Actually, I can't say I have a scene. I will be transparent there. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm not well versed in that.
Well, how about, what's your ideal fantasy scene?
Ideal fantasy scene.
There you got it down.
You're gonna have to give me a moment on that. I need to think about it.
Can we come back to you?
Can you come back to me?
Yes.
Can you go and then come back?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have one, y'all.
I gotta hear this.
Okay, have y'all seen the movie Jason's Lyric?
Yes. I have.
Okay. So there's this scene where they're like very, very passionate, and they start off on the counter and they end up on the couch, but it's just like really intense. That, if I could mimic any movie or show scene, it would be that right there. Only because the intensity of it all was just so authentic and so in a moment that it's like you can't deny the energy that was there.
Absolutely.
And for me, like, of course, yeah, it'd be great to like fuck on a waterfall or, you know, fuck with like an ocean view. Great. But sometimes, although I appreciate sceneries like that, I prefer like those intense moments where the energy is just so strong that it's just undeniable.
It's undeniable.
It's undeniable.
We know what you were thinking when you were watching that movie.
I was just thinking, I'm like,
woo! All right.
what I was thinking was that I don't know if they acting, because it felt that authentic, you know?
Because I love in a movie scene where it doesn't seem like I'm watching so and so and so and so.
Right.
It makes you
feel involved.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're really in a relationship. They're really like, you know, to have that chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I have. Oh.
When I watched that movie, I'm like, that's why they got married. Like, that's why
That's why they got,
because they had
so
such
apparent.
an amazing chemistry the whole movie.
Right.
Like, it was just, So,
to me, the chemistry is, I think, what makes it.
Mm-hmm,
and then when you have all the other factors outside of it, so let's say you do have a nice scene or you have, I don't know, other factors to it, it makes it that much better because the chemistry is already so strong.
Yeah. Right. The chemistry, I think, is number one. To have the passion and the chemistry, I think, makes for amazing sex.
I agree.
I wouldn't say, I guess, if we were to go back to my question, I wouldn't say sex, but I don't know if you guys remember The Notebook.
Mm-hmm.
I love The Notebook.
Like Ryan Gosling, I can't remember who the other lead actress was.
Oh, I feel horrible. What's her name?
Rachel McAdams.
Yes, Rachel McAdams.
Like, they're, at least how passionate their kissing scene was. I think they won an Oscar or an Emmy for that or something. Yeah. They won some, like, global...
They did.
I think so.
Yeah, award for just how passionate that was.
I think that's another really good...
like romantic.
And they had great chemistry on
chemistry on that movie, even the sex scenes, now that I start thinking about that, like those were
intense.
They were intense. They're passionate.
Yeah, passionate. That
passion
passion is important.
Listen, because
it's a secret ingredient to the best sex ever.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't say that.
Mom, I hope you're watching this.
I hope she's not. She'll be like, honey,
I thought you were a virgin.
She'll be clutching pearls. No, seriously. When did you lose your virginity? I'm like, Mom, I'm 26. Like, come on now.
My mom wouldn't be surprised. Hi, Mom.
My mom would be. Hey, Mom.
I don't know, but I think it's kind of cool to kind of explore your sexuality. Yeah, figure out what you like, what you don't like. Figure out what's important to you, what's not. Because some people are less passionate and more like,
let's just get it done.
Let's get it done. They're aggressive, like right. They just
aggression's not bad.
Tell us more.
Aggression isn't bad, but I'm just saying they're not more so about the chemistry or the passion. They're more so about like the deed.
Getting it done.
Yeah,
just the release.
And for me, I think the passion and the chemistry is important. Yeah. Because otherwise I feel like you're not experiencing sex to the fullest capacity.
I agree.
You're getting like a watered down version of it.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything about that. But what I do know,
sex. Sorry,
I don't have the casual.
When you talk about the passion and the chemistry, I think about India Aries' song "Brown Skin." When she's like, every time you know that's every time you come around, something magnetic happens.
Yes,
it spins me and I can't get down.
Yes,
and I'm like disoriented. Yeah, I can't tell my up from down.
Yes,
all I know is that I wanna lay you down, and I'm like, damn, like what y'all doing? Like, damn, and she talks, and the way, like the verbiage and the way she like weaves the language into that song when she describes hitting climax.
Right.
Yo, like I'm not even talking about movie scenes. Let's talk about lyrics right now. Like, I'm like, shit, sis.
Right.
Tell us something we don't know. You know? We thinking India Aries all innocent, but no, I think like even that song, like those lyrics, I think for me, like does more than visuals can ever do. I think when it comes to like when she describes verbally like her experience through that process, like damn.
And I think that's the biggest thing now, difference in music for me is that like, and not to say I don't like music now, because I do. There's things that I like, I sing along to, but I catch myself singing along to things that I just should not be saying out loud, and I'm just like, wow.
Listen, that's not your useless.
No, I know, and I'm like, and I may repeat the song and sing it again, but it's just like when I compare, because let me back up. But we are the generation where we know the Temptations, we know 90s, early 2000s, and we know now. Do you know what I mean? And so people, my sister, or, people younger, they're not going to have that experience. They only know now.
Right. And
so I remember, men singing about lovemaking and singing about, catering to their woman.
And you felt it.
And
back to that romance.
And it was a thing. It was like important. Now it's just like, well, I don't want to say it because
I hit her up. Yeah, I slid in her DMs. We hit it
left
out.
on red.
Right.
Fucking thought something. I'm like,
like, well, then, dang, where does the love come in?
Where is that? Yeah, so it's just like...
And I think that goes with the desensitization we were talking about, like this newer generation, especially with the artificial intelligence and how everything just kind of weaves together, where that human interaction is just more like, hey, I see this on TV, this is what is expected, therefore this is what I'm going to do. And it cuts out that human interaction and that passion and that authentic, genuine connection, right?
But I believe that is so important for us to thrive, man.
Yeah.
So if our generation can do anything, I would say we have to continue to implement those important factors, because
keep on riding it.
Yeah, technology is cool and all, but you got to balance it out with the real world too. Yeah. So just blending the best of both worlds and making sure we're not losing sight of important factors.
And passing down what we learned. Do you know what I mean? I definitely want to pass down some of the music, some of the thoughts, and old school, what do you call it? Morals.
Right.
The old school morals.
Yeah.
I definitely want to pass that down to my kids, because by the time I have kids, which won't be anytime soon, it'll be even worse than what we're talking about now. Do you know what I mean?
Hope
so
not,
it's just
no, it will.
It will. Like technology is gonna have advanced in the next 10 years.
So
you know what I mean? So it's just like, by the time I have a kid, I want to be able to kind of teach them some of the things that I grew up on and whatnot. And I think that's how we have to maybe tie the knot all the way through.
I like that.
Well, ladies, I love y'all.
I love you too.
This is what melanin magic is. Like, literally in the flesh. I'm witnessing it. I think you guys are dope. Not just with how you look, not with just how you carry yourself, but what you have to carry inside. That's important. I feel like as we're talking about like the age of technology and shit, like it's so surface based these days, right? But depth and soul and intellect and sophistication, I appreciate those qualities, and I love y'all because you guys have those within. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today and being a part of Melanin After Dark. Great first co-host.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I love getting with like dope women that are doing amazing things.
Yes. You guys are amazing. Let's continue to just encourage and uplift each other, because we got a lot to offer and bring to the table.
Absolutely.
So much.
Way too much. Y'all can't even handle it.
They can't.
Period. Cool.
Period.